let's go back to the substance of the State of the Nation address. He ended it. I mean, he was very, very upbeat, as he should be, because the government did accomplish many things, right? He pointed out that the Philippines had the largest growth rate in Southeast Asia, the second largest in Asia, second to China. He pointed out that internationally, the Philippines was getting praise,
yes,
right? And he almost sounded a little bit wistful that he was not getting the same kind of response from the Philippines. What do you make of that?
Oops. Well, actually, as a business reporter, sometimes I have to hold back because I'm so used to reporting about the bad.
Okay.
And so when we have good numbers that actually come in, you're so jaded that you wonder if it's true. But they come one after the other.
Right.
So
there's some track record now. I mean, this is part of the reason we're also looking at it a little more optimistically.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you
yes.
more optimistic?
I'm getting there.
He ended his speech with "Nothing is impossible," and he actually went over. Aside from Secretary Almendras, he also thanked Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales because she did play an incredible role in making sure. If you look at it, he staked his presidency on impeaching and convicting former Chief Justice Renato Corona. What impact did that have, and what would have happened if he lost?
I don't want to imagine even, because politically that will have an impact on the economy.
Right.
Because that means that the executive will be at loggerheads with the legislative.
Which is very different from the Congress, the joint houses of Congress that we saw today. I mean, you definitely felt a spirit of unity there, would you say?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
At least for every clap that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
What's next for this president? What are the main priorities? You did a story on hits and misses. What are the main priorities that you can see based on what he outlined as his accomplishments?
He wants to continue what he has already started. He wants to keep the growth as sustainable as possible.
Yep.
He did repeat the importance of infrastructure, PPP in particular, and all those airports and roads. Tourism is still a key aspect of that formula.
You know, it was funny. I was slightly disappointed because he went into the weeds. He went into so many numbers and details that were thrown at us, and perhaps that's necessary for a skeptical public, but it got so detailed that at times I was looking for an overarching theme of where he's headed. You picked up infrastructure, agriculture. He also, though, spent a lot of time on education. He spent time on dengue,
and cocoa water.
Right,
yes.
On cocoa water, which actually is a good story for the Philippines. He talked about a decrease in crime, although that was also challenged by Jeff Canoy, who's one of the reporters for ABS-CBN working on that. He challenged the report that according to the NCR from January to June, 63.8%, crime actually went up. It was higher, 63.8% in the first 6 months of 2011. Okay, well, we'll move now to Batasang Pambansa because we've actually got Ayi Macaraig waiting for us. Ayi, let me toss it over to you. What's it like at Batasang Pambansa? I think she may have problems hearing me. Ayi, go ahead if you can hear me.
Maria?
Yes, go ahead, Ayi. What is it like at Batasang Pambansa? We've been talking about President Aquino's State of the Nation address. What was the reaction there to what he's listed? She's having a hard time hearing me, so why don't we go back and let's go back to Ayi in a short. Can you hear me now, Ayi? Hello. Okay,
yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great. I actually hear you also. Go ahead. What's been the reaction to President Aquino's State of the Nation address?
Well, Maria, we just talked to a few of the leaders of the minority of the House of Representatives, particularly Congressman Danilo Suarez and Congresswoman Mitos Magsaysay. And so far they said that the president's speech their word was nice in terms of delivery, but they have some criticism about the accuracy of the numbers, the figures that the president cited, and they said they would like to be able to study these figures, particularly on unemployment, and present the minority's own response to the president's SONA this Wednesday. Congresswoman Magsaysay was saying that it's not the Arroyo government that has the monopoly on corruption, she says, but she says the president should also focus on graft and corruption in his own administration, specifically in his own appointees and particularly his friends. Of course, we know that Congressman Suarez and Congresswoman Magsaysay are allies of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo here in the House of Representatives. So initially, they said that as a whole, it was well delivered, but some questions on the accuracy of the figures and also that corruption, that the president cannot just point to corruption in the past, corruption in the Arroyo administration, but also in his very own cabinet, in his government. With regard to the other topics of the president's SONA, specifically, there was strong response, that standing ovation when he mentioned responsible parenthood in his speech. And there were some people online who were wondering if that is equivalent to, of course, the controversial reproductive health bill. We talked to one of the proponents of the bill, Akbayan, Representative Kakabag-Aw, and she told us that the title of the RH bill actually says reproductive health and responsible parenthood. So to her, there is no doubt that President Aquino was expressing his support before members of Congress to push for and pass the reproductive health bill. Congresswoman Bag-Aw also welcomed the president's support for the comprehensive agrarian reform program with extension, which he promised to pass within his term when it expires in 2014. So those are just some of the initial reactions that we've been getting from the members of Congress, and so far it's a mixed review to the president's SONA for this year. Maria?
I.e., there seem to have been many more applauses this year than in his first two. Is that correct? Is this indicative of a more united, if you will, or Congress, or one that's certainly harnessed more by the executive? Would you say that?
Sorry, it was a bit choppy, Maria. Can you repeat the question again?
The amount of applause, is this a more united Congress? Does the president have a Congress that actually would listen to him? Will it be easier for him to pass his agenda?
I really can't get the question clearly. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem. Well, let's move away. Thank you very much, Ayi Macaraig. It's good to have you there. Please go ahead. We'll look to hear from you later on. Let's go back and wrap up. I'll throw back that question to you. Ayi mentioned the RH bill, and in a strange way, though, he really didn't endorse it. He mentioned it in passing, and yet what we've seen on social media and the supporters of the RH bill, they're saying that it is an endorsement of the RH bill. Was it? Is it enough of a push from the president to actually get this contentious legislation passed through this Congress?
It's one of the nagging and favorites. Almost always, whenever we have a SONA, it's almost never ending to hear it in the wish list of a lot of people.
It's going to be interesting because what we're getting now is it may not pass through this Congress, but everyone seems to be watching. What about sin tax? Well, actually, before sin tax, can we go to mining? Let's finish mining now. Yes. The EO 79 actually sets a moratorium on any new activity in mining, pending legislation from Congress. What happens next with this?
Then the next battle becomes Congress. Unfortunately, as I mentioned a while ago, it doesn't seem to be, will not be a priority bill for the Aquino administration. He has said in a previous interview that sin tax will be the priority. There have been so many other revenue-generating bills in the past, including rationalization of fiscal incentives, etc., etc. But this administration just focused on syntaxes. So I think they're also trying to weigh their chances of getting these legislative pieces passed. And as far as the mining stakeholders are concerned, because I've attended one industry briefing, apparently there's a lot of confusions on how to, among the players, how to move forward with this mining EO. Because of the moratorium, it means they don't have their contracts, even if they've already essentially reserved this area for a mining activity, and they've invested a lot in it already. They're waiting at they're left in limbo. They said
Yes, they can't move forward until
they
legislation
can't
passes.
move
and-
forward,
yeah.
and without the, I mean, it's elections next year.
Correct.
So how do you get the thing with the country as a mining investment destination is the EO is only good as President Aquino, while President Aquino is sitting there. You don't know what happens after.
Right.
So there's a lot of uncertainty there.
Okay. Well, he actually also mentioned, he's mentioned Scarborough Shoal. He actually hit all of the points that we expected him to hit. Aside from defense, he talked about the AFP modernization program, the Scarborough Shoal conflict to a degree. Was there anything that should have been in the State of the Nation address that wasn't addressed?
Because he's such a transparent president.
Yes.
All of the topics that I expected him to
Were
talk
there,
about were
right.
there. Yeah, not all. I mean, it's not comprehensively mentioned. Like in the case of energy,
Yes.
it was very selective.
Yes.
Or in the case of infrastructure, just the ones with a good story or good promise.
Correct. Okay, well, thank you very much, Lado Raimondo, for sitting and going through the State of the Nation address with us. It was an interesting State of the Nation address. He ended it by saying that nothing is impossible. It looks like the Philippines is poised, as it was during the time of former President Fidel Ramos, to become at a place where it is, where the numbers show it is. It is the highest performer in Southeast Asia right now in terms of GDP, second in Asia, second only to powerhouse China. The stock market for 2 years in a row has become one of the high performers in the region, and there is no doubt internationally that other countries are looking at the Philippines. The question now is whether or not this country can move it forward and can actually reach a tipping point. This is Maria Ressa for Rappler, bringing you the State of the Nation address.